For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning into the podcast. 30 minutes of fun. It's really just time-wasting chatter is what it is. And again, thanks to everybody who has been subscribing on iTunes and SoundCloud and listening at thescribbleshow.com. We love hearing from everybody. Feel free to give me a shout. Live at jbonair.com is my email address. Live at jbonair.com. You can also tweet us up at The Scribble Show. Of course, you tweet on Twitter. I'm not going to say tweet us on Twitter, because that's redundant, and that's something that my dad would say, just like when you're on the email or the eBay. All right, so we've got some fun stuff going on. Our executive producer, Bonnie Winters, works very, very hard day in and day out to get this show off the ground, to get our radio shows off the ground, and she's also a big part of our Speak Free Books company, where we've got just books being sold left, right, and center in stores all over the place, and online, and marketing, and everything, so she's quite a savior. And I like to tease Bon. She does work very hard. She earns every minute of her vacation time. But from time to time, I also like to give her a hard time when she books time off. Because I always say that I'm so dedicated to the job that the work comes first. Granted, it's my company and I'm kind of in charge, so it sort of has to be that way. But I like to razz her. So if she ever just takes a day off in the middle of the week, or perhaps we're all of a sudden doing a taping on a weekend for the radio show and she can't make it, or she's at an event, I like to just call her and have a bit of fun. And often we do it on the radio. We'll actually do it live, getting Bonnie on the phone, and she's a sweetheart where she is very, very politically correct all the time, and I like to put her in awkward situations. So we're going to call her in just a few minutes, and I'm going to make it sound like there is some sort of a big scandal that our company is involved in, and she's one of the mouthpieces. Sometimes an executive producer might be called by the media and have to give a comment, and she's going to have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. Now, again, there really is no scandal, at least that I know of, but I just want to put her on the spot and see how she's going to handle it, because, yeah, I think that because I'm just a sick person, I'm going to mess with Bonnie Winters. And we're also going to play a new game called Censor Me This. I thought about this the other day. I'll explain it in just a little while. But we're going to be censoring Bonnie during a part of the call. And we're just going to randomly bleep words that she's saying to make it sound like she's swearing and have a bit of fun with it. Because she's a grandmother. And there's nothing I love more than hearing a grandmother swear. And so hopefully. And she's going to play along, but you never know how these things are going to turn out. So if it's terrible radio or terrible audio, I guess we're on the podcast today, then we're just going to deal with it because you've got nothing better to do, right? You're ignoring your teacher in class right now, or you're ignoring your boss during a meeting, and you're listening to this podcast, and I thank you so much for that. So, Bonnie Winters is also going to chat about the Oscars, and another funny thing about this is that she doesn't follow movies at all. Well, I'm going to put her on the spot and ask her about the Oscars and see if she can get through that. You really get some popcorn, fix yourself a drink. This is going to be entertaining as hell. I'm already enjoying it. Maybe it's just because I know her, but we're going to put grandmother Bonnie Winters on the spot for some really entertaining conversation, and it's all going down right after this break.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich, working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare, having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom41.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom41.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom, the number 41.com. Go to freedom41.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom41.com.
All right, as promised, we have got Bonnie Winters, our executive producer, on the phone. And Bonnie, our phones have been lighting up today about this whole controversy and the scandal. So I figured we'd go to you for an official statement. What have you got for everybody?
Well, come on now. Do I really have to give you an official statement here?
Well, I was shocked when I heard the news. I really wasn't expecting it. And to hear that you were involved was concerning to me. So what can you tell people? First of all, why did it happen? What was the reason behind it?
JB, you get me into the tightest spots, don't you?
We're not playing Censor Me this yet. Just wait, Bonnie. No, because people, it was on Twitter earlier, and people are starting to comment and then ask questions, and it doesn't involve me, but so I figured we'd go straight to the source. So,
well, I don't think it involves me either.
Well, I'm not going to read the tweets. We can't. Legal had said we can't. But I just want you to. Is it fair what people are saying, though?
Well, it's not fair what you're saying. I can tell you that.
Well, so then correct this. Then make this right. What would you say to make it right?
JB, yeah. I have nothing to say. How's that?
Yeah, you had the same PR instructor that I did, didn't you, in school?
That's right. We had the same one.
Do you remember? Now let's get off track. I'll give you a few minutes to think about your response to that statement. But do you remember when we worked together at a publishing company? We actually met up with her at a mall. Do you remember that? You went to school. You were in college. It was 30 years before I was, and we had.
Not quite that long.
All right, 25. So, but it was just funny because here we are working together at this publishing company. Just some backstory that we were both editors. I was managing editor, a little bit in charge there. And we'd gone to the same school. We took the same course. We evidently had a bunch of the same instructors. And then we were actually out for lunch one day at a mall. And sure as crap, we ran into our PR instructor. Now, she wasn't at the school anymore, right? Didn't she leave a few years earlier?
That's right. She was already retired.
Right. And so the look on her face was kind of like, whoa, you two know each other and you're both working together. But didn't we sort of get like a weird vibe that it was like, oh, you're doing magazines? Well, didn't she say something like that?
Well, first of all, we caught her totally off guard.
Right.
And that was worth everything. I mean, she was not expecting to see you and I together at all.
But
we're such an odd couple, aren't we, JB?
Well, I would say Beauty and the Beast, yeah.
Oh, I thank you.
Or we'd call it a May to February romance, I guess. But I wonder, and my mom's a teacher, but I wonder though if
hang on, I better inform my husband about this, honey.
Oh, yeah, really. Yeah, we've talked about that, because again, backstory here. Bonnie's been married 50 years, and they have the
not quite
precious teenage grandson who actually is graduating from high school pretty soon, isn't he?
Oh well, close.
Right. He heard about the buzz on Twitter. I mentioned that, and he was wanting to know actually. Can I look at my grandma the same way again after this? What would you say to him, Bon? What would you say to him?
No buzz.
If he's listening to this right now, he's shocked. We tried to get him. He's not even answering the phone. I think he's with his rehab counselor, but I just want him to have some peace of mind. So how can you put him at ease?
You are real bad.
How can you put him at ease, Bon? Because if he did something like this, what would you say to him?
Listen, his grandma is just the best role model, so he doesn't have anything to worry about.
Would you say that he's proud of you because of this?
Well, whatever it is you're talking about, if it's something you're thinking up, probably not.
If you were to give him one piece of advice to avoid getting into a situation like this, what would you say?
JB, I don't know what the situation is. You won't tell me. So I'm not going there.
The old mind is a terrible thing to waste, ladies and gentlemen. All right, well, I'm going to let Bonnie in on a little secret here. Now, earlier in the show, because Bonnie took a vacation day today, and I said, you know what, let's screw with Bonnie Winters, because when we're all working here, she's off gallivanting and drinking, allegedly at the gym, she said earlier. But so I said, I'm going to make up this scandal. We're going to get Bonnie on the phone live to comment on this make-believe scandal and see what she's going to say, see how she would handle it. And boy, did her PR instincts really kick in for this statement, didn't they, folks?
They certainly did,
Yeah.
yes. They were just right there
Now,
at the ready.
Of course. Now, the other day, we were talking on the phone. I was on my way into work, and you know how, like, cell phone reception kind of is choppy sometimes depending on where you are, and you live out in the country. So I had this idea for a segment that we're going to do. It's called Censor Me This. And now that I'm actually looking at it, we actually misspelled censor. We have it S-E-N-S-O-R. That is not how you spell censor. Well, I guess it is, but not the censor we're talking about. So I'm going to explain how this works. Bonnie's going to stick around on the phone, even though she hasn't agreed to. But we're going to keep her on the line, and we're going to play Censor Me This when we come back.
My gosh, it's a scary, scary thing when you miss a day.
If you're diabetic, this message could change your life. Is your blood sugar out of control even when you do all the right stuff? Are you afraid of diabetic blindness and the risk of amputation, as well as all those other side effects? Well, you should be. Is there anything that could help manage your blood sugar? Nobetes is a natural supplement that may quickly and dramatically lower your blood sugar.
My name is Bob Corder. I've been using Nobetes for about 3.5 to 4 months now. And in the first 3 months, I've actually lowered my blood sugars from 500s down to 139, and then it dropped to 88 to 93.
My name is Kirsten. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and while taking Nobetes, my blood sugar levels dropped from 295 to 115 in just one day.
The FDA hasn't evaluated these statements, and Nobetes isn't intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. But for many, it's helped drop their blood sugar. So if you've been evaluated with high blood sugar, don't delay. Evaluate Nobetes now. Call 800-478-9568 and get your free bottle. Just cover shipping and handling. Call 800-478-9568. That's 800-478-9568.
All right, we are back with Bonnie Winters, executive producer, who's enjoying a nice day off, on the phone with us. And, Bon, we've got this game called Censor Me This. Now, we sort of set it up in the last segment that I was talking with you when I was on my way into the office, or maybe you were, I don't remember. But anyway, we had a conversation where the reception, the signal just kept going in and out. You live out in the country, and I know from talking to you the odd time when you're at home or when you're on your way home that we lose part of the conversation sometimes, right? You only hear every fifth word, or you might lose an entire sentence altogether.
That's absolutely right.
Right, and everybody remembers those cell phone commercials from years ago. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? So what we're going to do, Bon, we're going to bleep words, okay? Well, your answer to the question, we're going to bleep, and hopefully it's going to sound like we're saying really bad things, right? We've all seen that bleeping on TV at award shows or when somebody swears. And Bon, I know when we first met, you used to use the words frick and doink. So I'm actually going to love this. You did. You used those.
Never.
No, yeah, frick and doink. She used in a production meeting one day. I was like, this old lady is serious. This is honestly... Everybody else is swearing, and Bonnie Crocker, in the corner there. So.
That's Bonnie Jane Crocker.
Oh my God! Here we go. Okay, so let's start. Okay, it's Censor Me This, and I'm just going to ask you some questions, and the better responses, Bon, are going to be the most wordiest, right?
That's right.
Most wordiest? Is that how you? Anyway. Okay.
Doesn't matter.
So here we go.
We'll just go with it.
Here we are. So, what is your full name?
Bonnie Jane Winters.
What was your favorite hobby as a teenager?
Playing a fantastic round of...
How have you found the weather this winter?
It's been downright freezing cold.
Somebody has never heard of the Kardashians. How would you describe them?
I would say they are the family.
Wow, okay. I think this is going to be the one and only time we run this segment. I'm just saying that to the folks in the room here. How many years have you been married?
I've been married 35 years.
How many kids do you have?
I have 3 young children.
If you could have any animal as a pet, what would it be and what would you teach it to do?
I would have an adorable toy poodle, and I would teach it to bring me the paper so I could sit and read the paper in the evening.
If you could teach it to say one phrase to your husband, it would say, Mike!
It would say, get that woman a glass of wine.
What is your favorite song?
Blue by the Elvis Presley.
Tell me about the first time you heard it.
I was actually a young, and we were at and it was the most beautiful summer evening.
You know what's really funny here, folks, is that I knew she was going to say that. So the next question here is, if you met Elvis, what would you say to him?
Oh, boy. That's a good question, JB. If I met Elvis, I would ask him to and do all the actions to, I would ask him to really get those hips gyrating.
We're going to move on before this really needs to be censored. Wow. You like to eat cake, right?
Well, I love cake.
Right. How old were you when you first baked a cake?
Oh, when I first baked a cake, I was probably in my teens. I would say I was about 15.
Do you think girls should learn how to bake in school?
Absolutely, they should.
Tell us about your plans for the weekend.
I'm going to a birthday party this weekend, and we are going to have a...
Are you going to eat a cake there?
Absolutely, I'm going to bake the cake.
Are you a fan of chocolate cake?
Well, it depends. Is it chocolate cake? Then I am.
So what you're saying here is you would eat a big chocolate cake?
Well, of course I would.
I think some of them worked and some of them didn't. We almost had to go off the air when she started talking about Elvis. So that's our new game, Censor Me This. Thanks for playing along, Bon. We've got more to talk about. We've got to take a break, though. More right after this.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Jeremy Bradley here, back with executive producer Bonnie Winters, who is vacationing today on the phone with us, of course, right? Nobody ruins a day off like JB does. We know that. Thanks for joining us today, Bon.
You're spectacular, JB. I really appreciate you adding to my day off.
See, now we are not going to censor any of that because that was genuine and from the heart.
I can imagine what you will do with that.
Right. We'll bleep the hell out of everything else, but compliments, we're going to extend those. And we're going to actually add in words when she's off the phone with us. So, Bon, let's talk about workplaces because we mentioned earlier that we worked together. It's about 10 years ago, more than that, I guess, when we worked together at that publishing company. And we had a really good office dynamic. We were in the editorial department. But there were some people there, and we won't name names, but we know who they are. But there were some people there that were very odd personalities, and that happens in every workplace. And tell everybody, there were two people in particular.
Yes, and actually I thought we were the odd personalities, you and I.
You were, you're right, you were. But we had this girl, she was a graphic designer, if I'm not mistaken, and she came in. She reminded me sort of like of a Paris Hilton, I guess now a Kardashian, but was like very high maintenance, very hoity-toity, you remember she had that big green car. I don't remember, it was a Mustang or something?
Yes.
Remember? And I think she had like a rich dad or whatever the deal was. But you remember like on day one, she came in with her own candy jar, her own mouse, she had like the nails done, and I was just like, where are you working? Right? Do you remember her?
Yes, I do.
And she also brought in something that she kept on her desk. Why don't you tell everybody that?
Oh, her little teacup chihuahua. And the teacup.
Well, yes, it fit in the teacup, but this was one of those things where
right.
I remember, because I think that we came in almost about the same time. No, that's not true. I was always on time. But we walked through the design area, the art department, and I remember looking at the desk going, sorry, what is that on her desk? And then when we came back and we were all conversing in the editorial department, it was like, this is like her second day, and she's bringing this like little rat dog here. It was very bizarre.
It was. She just moved right on in.
What do you
Made
think?
herself at home.
Well, now, I talked about that on the podcast last week, about how long it takes people before they get comfortable in a job. Nowadays, it's like you've got your cell phone out on your desk, or you're texting and you're doing whatever. And then you've got the people who like bring their own plants from home and pictures and, you know, the stuff the kids paint. How long until somebody should get that comfy? Or should they ever get that comfy in an office?
I don't think they should ever get that comfy in an office. What do you think?
Well, I think it's one of those things where it's a little bit too soon on day one to just come in. You've been there for 1 hour and all of a sudden your cell phone is out on your desk. Because to me, that's almost saying to an employer, you know what, my phone's more of a priority than this job is, and I can't miss it. Like, I don't want my personal life interrupted. That's how I look at it.
And plus, you and I were always in and out of the office so much, we never had time to make ourselves too comfy, did we?
Well, no, and that's exactly it. Now, you remember, though, this was the funny thing. We would have those editing parties in my office in the afternoons when you would nod off and erase my whiteboard with your hair. And
then we got comfy, that's right.
And you might think that I'm making a joke, but she actually did that, and I've got pictures when we were in my office of her. Yeah. And then there was the time that she actually crowbarred the treat drawer when I was out of town one week in my office.
Come up with the craziest things.
Excuse me. The Triscuits, the M&Ms. Am I making this up? Now we're going to get her commenting on the scandal, ladies and gentlemen. Bonnie, what is your statement? Go ahead.
All right, let's not go there.
No. But anyway, so we would get... Now, do you remember, though, my office phone would ring, and it was my mom. Do you remember what would happen next?
I do. You had some interesting comments about your mom.
No.
You're such a good son.
No. Once I tell you, you're going to remember. But, so my office phone would ring. I would ignore it. But you don't remember what would happen next?
No.
My cell phone would ring. Don't you remember? She would call the office. I wouldn't answer.
Oh, that's right.
And then
I had forgotten.
Right, and then I would go and say, watch, in 5 seconds. And then sure as crap, my cell phone starts ringing. And it's like, what? Just leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Aw, she's your mom.
Well, let's move on. So, but it's interesting that, the work ethic, I think, these days, and I wrote about this in my book called Put Down Your Damn Phone Already at speakfreebooks.com and on Amazon and iTunes. But I think the work ethic nowadays, not quite where it used to be, right?
Oh, definitely not.
No. And I would stay late at the publishing company, and we would, we'd stay late on a Friday, or we'd work on a Sunday night, or whatever it was, and we just didn't care. It was give and take with our employer, and we respected the job, and that was that. We certainly were not consumed with our cell phones, but we were getting the job done.
That's correct.
Now, come to think of it, though, 10 years ago, I don't know that cell phones were as evolved as they are now, so maybe it would be a different story if we were in that sort of environment.
Well, that's true.
Quickly moving on, or you've got to get going, because I know that you said that you had 6 minutes and we were out of time, but I was just going to ask you about your thoughts on the racist Oscars. Should more blacks have been nominated, Bon?
That's a very interesting situation, I think. For one thing, I didn't even notice that this, or I didn't even think this could become an actual situation. I always thought it was just about the acting. Obviously, they want to take it to another level. So I'm quite surprised that this is unfolded in that way.
You're up on the times with the movies that were nominated. What was the biggest snub this year for Best Picture, Bon?
Oh, JB, I'm one of these people who I don't think it's right to say that it's been snubbed. I really feel that if a movie is going to do well at the Oscars, then that movie has a right to be nominated. If a movie isn't going to do well at the Oscars, or they feel it's not Oscar quality, to me there's no such thing as a snub at the Oscars. I mean, these guys know what they're doing. Apparently, they're supposed to be the ones who have... Oh, come on. You're putting me in a really bad spot here. I don't think there is such a thing as a snub at the Oscars. I really don't.
Do you think that any movies should have been nominated that were not for Best Picture?
No, I do not. But I didn't see all the movies, so who am I to comment on that, really?
Of all the nominees, do you think that Star Wars will win Best Picture?
I haven't seen all the nominees, So I really can't say. But given the popularity of Star Wars and what I've heard about it, we haven't seen it yet. I bet you it is going to win.
It maybe could if it was nominated, Bon. It wasn't nominated, but thanks for being our entertainment expert this week.
Was it not nominated?
No.
Really? Oh, I'm really surprised at that.
Wait a second, so would this be considered a snub then, Bon?
Yeah, backed me into a corner, didn't you, JB?
Zing!
I would expect some people would think it was a snub, but
so
if
let me.
They don't think it was good enough quality. If those in the know didn't think it was good enough quality, then who are we to say? I don't even know how they can comment on that, because everybody sees movies from a different perspective.
We're going to back it up a few minutes, though, and play your comments again about that there is no such thing as a snub. We're going to cue that up. We've got it? All right, here it is.
I don't think it's right to say that it's been snubbed.
There we go, backtracking at its finest, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, really? JB, when you go to a movie and you say you like a show, and I see the same movie, I might not like it at all.
Your PR instructor would be very proud of you today, Bon.
I'm sure she would.
All right, we're going to let you get back to the home. Bonnie Winters, our executive producer, joining us on her day off. Thank you so much, Bon. Talk to you again soon.
JB, you can be terrible sometimes.
Thanks, Bon.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradford. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Thank you very much, Larson. I don't even know if anybody is still listening to this show after that. Thank you to Bonnie Winters. A good sport. Maybe it's just one of those you had to be there kind of things, or it's internal jokes, but I had a great time with those segments with Bonnie Winters. The Screen Actors Guild Awards are coming up Saturday night. Now, again, we always post this show on a Friday, so if you're listening right now on Friday, you can follow along with my tweets to the SAG Awards Saturday night. My Twitter is at SF, as in Speak Free, SF Celeb Watch. And I always, have the most sarcastic tweets, better than anybody else. And the interesting thing about award show season, and now thanks to Twitter, is that every fourth tweet, somebody is recapping the winners, right? Best picture, best actor, best whatever. And it's we get it. Everybody is all of a sudden a reporter these days. So I don't do that. Even though I'm an entertainment reporter, I make fun of people. I mock people. It's Hollywood, and we've talked about that. They're full of themselves. They're paid way too much for what they do. So you know what? It's time to bring them down. They need to be bullied. Celebrities, for the millions they make, they don't care what we think anyway, right? So let's just talk trash about them. So at SF Celeb Watch, and then every Monday night, I'm loving The Bachelor, because there's some crazy bitches on The Bachelor this season. Again, I live tweet Monday night when The Bachelor is on, because he's just a very boring guy. Ben Higgins. Now here's the interesting thing, is that you got all these beauty pageant smiley things, and then it's can I steal him? Can I steal him? And SNL, was it last weekend or 2 weekends ago, had a hilarious sketch where they're sitting on a park bench, and just every 30 seconds another chick comes in and is like, can I steal him? Can I steal him? I think a real man would go and say, actually, you know what? I'm kind of talking to her right now, so just give me a few more minutes. But instead, the guy always just lets them interrupt and then steal him away. So if anything, I don't know why the girls get mad at each other for that. They should be pissed at the guy. They should be pissed at the guy and have, and be saying, you know what? He let me go to talk to that bitch. Why aren't they turning on the guy? But it's so catty because it's the women against each other. But that's where a chick should go, excuse me, real man. We're talking. You tell her to wait. But that never happened. I think it's happened in the past couple seasons. I don't know with Ben, though. But it's happened a couple times where it's you know what, can I just have a few more minutes with her? To me, I think that's a real gentleman. I would love to know your thoughts. Bachelor Nation. I think this is probably one of the only reality shows that has a nation behind itself. Hashtag Bachelor Nation. Live at jbonair.com again is my email address, live at jbonair.com. So lots of Twitter action happening, and then of course we've got our website, which is thescribbleshow.com, and you can listen to all the different past shows that we've done on there. And we've also got the latest celebrity news and gossip on our radio show called Entertainment Wrap Up. It's a 3-minute segment every day. You can go to entertainmentwrapup.com, and you can click to hear the daily headlines. It's Monday to Friday, and then we do a weekend edition, so definitely tune in for that, because, they have some messed up lives. And there's one thing that, if I'm ever having a bad day, I go to TMZ and just look at all the stuff on there and go, you know what, my life ain't so bad after all. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. I will talk to you same time, same place next week. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Bye-bye now.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat,